Hello and welcome to another Demon 212 3DS review. Today I'm going to be taking a look at Theatrhythm Final Fantasy, which, if you've never played it before, it's a rhythm game with Final Fantasy music. It's one of those, I'll be honest, I'm not really sure why I'm doing this, because as I keep saying, I can't exactly let you listen to music or anything, because of the way that I move the DS and the speakers go right next to the mic on the camera and it drowns me out. So this is going to be a rhythm review with absolutely no music, and it's probably going to flop there because of, but it's one of those, I strongly believe it's the words that are important in a review. So why the hell do I keep stumbling and bumbling a lot? I don't know. Either way, at the start you can choose your file, and you can go into the game. You can also get your DLC right from the start. There's, as it's saying on the top screen there, there's 3 player modes and different things you can go into. Your settings are very basic when you go into them. You can change your name, you can turn chimes on and off, you can review the tutorial, and you can delete your entire profile. You can go into Street Pass, and Street Pass you have to unlock it by getting Darknauts, and basically Darknauts, I'll explain them a bit later on, but with Street Pass you can give people information of how well you're doing on the game, and also give them one of your Darknauts. But you don't lose the Darknauts, so you don't have to worry about it. But as it pretty much claims in the manual, there's an infinite amount of Darknauts in the game. Obviously, I can't exactly prove or disprove that or anything. Then I'd imagine it wouldn't really matter if you did lose one anyway, because you can only hold 99 of them. Museum is just simply where you go to view the cards and everything that you've unlocked, because you can get them throughout the game. The cards are nice, like fan bonuses, but they're not really integral to the game or anything. It's just a case of you get them, and it's, oh, that's quite nice. And as you go along, you unlock new characters to play as, because you make a party, and it's basically a rhythm game and an RPG game, but the RPG game just feels like filler that doesn't need to be there. It's I'll explain all this a bit later. Either way, you can then go into your series, your challenge, or your Chaos Shrine. Chaos Shrine's where you play the Darknauts, which, if I just simply go into it, you've got your solo player and your multiplayer there. I've not played the multiplayer because I don't actually know a single person who's got this game. This is when I know I'm really an independent reviewer, because all of the big reviewers out there will get multiple copies, be able to play it with people in the office, whereas I'm in a case of, bought the game myself, none of my mates have any interest in it, so I can't play the multiplayer. But the Darknauts, it gives you a degree of difficulty, and then it tells you what they are, and it's just an amalgamation of the other songs in the game, which is why there's technically an infinite amount, because as the release DLC, I'd imagine more Darknauts will become available, and it's just chopping and changing bits of songs to create an infinite loop almost. Not so much an infinite loop that the songs don't end. You don't literally play it and play it and play until your battery dies. They do have an end, but you know what I mean. Hopefully, anyway. You've then got challenge mode, which challenge is quite simply every time you beat a section of songs, you get them. So there's Final Fantasy 1 and 2, and there's everything that you get in Final Fantasy 1 and 2, and there's all the DLC tracks, and you just basically play them one song at a time, and you can like practice on them with it and improve your scores for going into the series and playing all 3 together, because there's 13 Final Fantasy games in the main series, and that's all this covers. It doesn't cover the Dissidias, it doesn't cover X2 or Final Fantasy 13-2 or anything like that, which is a bit of a shame, because as huge as the content in the game is, it feels a bit lackluster because of the fact that every Final Fantasy game only has the 3 tracks. And when you consider how much music are in each Final Fantasy game, they kind of probably should have done 2 sections of 3, so 6 tracks per game, and then they probably could have doubled that with DLC. Instead, I don't know how much DLC we're going to get, and I don't know when they're going to stop with it, because yeah, not every track is a gem. You wouldn't want every single track to be playable, but it does seem like, why go to the bother of making an individual thing, telling you the date, telling you when it was released, telling you details on the top and the bottom for every single game, to just then do 3 songs? It just seems like a load of work for minimal payoff. And either way though, getting into actually playing the game, you get a prelude, then the 3 songs, and then you get the ending as well. And on the prelude and that, you can tap to get notes, or you can skip it, same with the ending. And I'm just going to try my best to play while I describe the RPG system in the game, because this is what I mean by it's kind of filler and it probably shouldn't be there. It's they're, I think, mainly for Final Fantasy fans, because this is the type of game that, if you're a huge rhythm fan, so if you play the likes of Rock Band and all that, you'll probably like the gameplay. It's why I got it, because I like rhythm games, I do play Rock Band a lot, and I do like Final Fantasy games. If you like Final Fantasy games, however, I don't think you'll like this if you don't like rhythm games. And I mainly think, if I'm honest, this is for people who like both and not one or the other. It's the type of thing that, as you go along, you can tell it's a rhythm game. You've got ones that you've got to tap, you've got to time it right, you've got to hold down, you've got to move, and you're doing all this on the bottom of the screen with your stylus, but you don't need to match up accuracy or anything like that. There's one game where you actually get 4 lanes, and it specifically says, just touch anywhere on the screen, it doesn't matter. Now, the 4 lanes are on the multiplayer, and for the multiplayer, I'd imagine each one of you uses a 4 lane, but like one of the 4 lanes, but I'm, again, just guessing with that, I can't be sure. But it then means that it doesn't matter where you tap, just as long as you follow the rhythm, you tap at the right time, you get the criticals, which are the best that you can do. If you miss, then you get bad and you lose energy, and this is where the RPG system comes into it. You've got to basically you've got to stay alive till the end of the song to beat it. It doesn't matter how bad you do as long as you're alive. So the RPG system in the game allows you to level up and that, and your characters get better, but as a lot of reviewers are saying, and I'm going to be one of them, playing as a high level character doesn't really differ much from a low-level character, if at all. It really does seem like filler just to keep people who are RPG fans happy, because I think maybe if they'd just done a straight rhythm game, Final Fantasy fans mightn't have been happy that there wasn't anything else. So instead they put that in, and it doesn't really feel like it does anything. You've then got an item system where you can equip potions and phoenix downs and things like that, and they can help you go through the level, and obviously help you gain back health if you're doing bad and the song's hard. However, they're not mandatory. You can actually do without them, and to be fair, if you do without them, then you actually get more bonus points. It rewards you for not using them. So again, they kind of feel more like filler and tacked on almost, because they're not integral to the game. You don't ever have to bother about using them or anything. They're just there, I think, kind of like for beginners who aren't very good at rhythm games. So it's almost like when Rock Band introduced the auto orange pedal, you know, the bass for the drums, and the computer basically did all of them for you to make it easier, so you just had to focus on wheeling on the 4 pads, and that's kind of what the item system feels like on this. So those parts of the game do seem quite a bit filler. The rhythm part of the game, though, isn't filler at all. It's a fantastic rhythm game. It's immediately one of my favourites. The music is fantastic. The art style is great. I love the fact that you play a kind of cutesy Final Fantasy game for 2 of them, and then you actually get key scenes from the other Final Fantasy games while you're playing, and people are complaining that they're in Japanese, and they're saying, well, why didn't they localise them? It honestly doesn't bother me, because if you're focusing on reading the words in the background, then you're going to be focusing on feeling the mission, quite frankly, because you're not going to be able to do both at the same time, hit the pads and concentrate on the words. It's the same as I'm struggling to play this, because I've noticed there is actually a little bit of lag between what I see on the camera lens and what's actually happening on the screen. So, on a rhythm game, that kind of throws your timing off a little bit. But, anyway, back to what I was saying. So, graphically, it's fantastic. Musically, it's absolutely amazing. Gameplay-wise, the RPG bits are filler, but the rhythm bits are absolutely fantastic. I'd love to see this continued DLC support, because so far we've got 8 tracks, but I think 10 were announced. They've been 90 pence each. It's reasonable when you compare it to the likes of, Rock Band and Guitar Hero and things like that. It is reasonable priced. Just to let you know, though, the tracks are just 1 track, so you don't get another set of 3 for each game, which would have been a little bit better and made a bit more sense, because at the moment they've released 4 red, 4 green and absolutely no blue. So it's kind of like a case of, well, where are my blue ones? Because the blue ones are the key scenes that I was talking about, which I'm hopefully going to be able to show next, because I think I've almost beat this. So, as I say, though, hopefully they're going to continue with the DLC support, because I am enjoying it. One downside I've got, really, is the fact that this is a Square Enix creation themselves, because this works so well. I'd love to see it with other games, especially Castlevania. I'd absolutely love to see a Theatrhythm Castlevania. So it is a bit of a shame, really, because I don't think I'll ever see it. But as long as they keep releasing DLC and maybe release a sequel in a few years' time to cover all of the other Final Fantasy games that aren't the main ones, then I actually think there's a hell of a lot they could do with it. The only other things I can mention that I haven't mentioned, just while I'm waiting for the final stage to load, every time you play it, it's like every time you go into one of the main series, the different orders. You won't always get green, then red, then blue. You might get green, red, blue, then red, blue, green, then red, green, blue. You know, so it changes that up, so it keeps you on your toes a bit, because green are the more relaxed ones. It's what I started with. Red are the battle ones where I have to fight creatures, but basically you don't do anything other than tap still. And blue are these ones here, which, as I say, are the main events where you'll basically see scenes from classic Final Fantasy games at key moments in the game, while instead of the notes moving to you, the circle moves over the notes, which is one of the biggest changes. There's also difficulty levels. You get 3 overall. You start with 1, and to be fair, I think you start with 2 and you have to unlock the 3rd one, and it does change it from a mild-mannered paced rhythm game into super fast, but I actually done better on Expert than I did on Original, because I'm used to playing drums on Expert, on Guitar Hero and Rock Band and that. Don't get me wrong, I'm not amazing at those games, and it's only a few songs I can play, but the speed it comes at you so fast. If you're not used to it from other rhythm games, then you will get thrown off. Whereas the song I played on Expert, I actually got a double S ranking, compared to when I played it on Normal, I got an S ranking. So I done a hell of a lot better because it was faster and I was used to the pace. Other than the unlockable difficulty levels and all the cards you can collect and that, there's not really much else left I can mention about the game. So I'll just reiterate, this is a fantastic rhythm game with lackluster RPG modes that is basically for huge rhythm and Final Fantasy fans. If you like one or the other, I don't know if you'll like this. I think this has mainly been made for a bit of fan service for the Final Fantasy fans, and as a Final Fantasy fan, I absolutely love it, and definitely give it a go, especially if a demo hits the store at some point. So there we go then. That's been the review. I hope you found it helpful. I don't score the games because that's based purely on opinion, so instead I'll leave you to make your own mind up. So thanks for watching, and if you've got any questions about the game that I didn't answer in the vid, or that hasn't been answered in the comments, then feel free to ask and I'll help if I can. Also, if you did find it helpful, don't forget to check out my channel, because there's plenty more like this up there. And don't forget to subscribe, because there'll be plenty more to come as well. So until next time, this has been Demon212, signing off.